Alright, here's my take on Hunt Showdown. This is kind of something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I bought the game a while ago, didn't really play it all that much, didn't really get into it until recently, and just wanted to try it out after my marathon video. Some people in the comments were saying that I should try Hunt Showdown and take a look at its UI and look at it from a UX perspective. So that's what we're going to do today. Just off the bat, I just want to get this off out of my head. This is an incredible game. I played it just for scientific purposes, and I really got into it. I love this game. Just the way it kind of just brings you into the atmosphere of the world is incredible, and something that no other game really does as well. So I love this game. I have about 25 hours into it, and I'm going to keep playing it even after this video is uploaded. So thanks. I really appreciate you guys suggesting this. I had it. I bought it a long time ago. I just never got into it until now. So thanks a lot. This game is great, but there are some UX issues, some UI issues that I think could be easily addressed, and I actually have a solution for it, for some of the issues that that appear in the game. So let's get right into it. This is going to be segmented, and if I remember, I'll try to have timestamps into the video, so you guys can skip around if you want. But let's get started. So first things first, just a really small thing, but when you're damaged and you want to heal, it'd be really nice to see kind of a healing kind of preview as to how much health you're going to get back. Some perks that you have, they might change that or make, double the amount of health you get back when you use a medkit or something. So it'd be nice to get like a heal. So like here I'm healing, and it should see like maybe a faint red bar to show you how much you're actually going to get back. If you know the numbers, you play the game enough, you know that a medkit, what I'm applying now, is I think 100 health. But so you know how much that has. If your health is a total of 150, you know how much 100 health does. But for newcomers or for just people who don't want to do the math, it'd be nice to just do like a kind of like a preview of where your health is going to be when you're done healing. So that's kind of the first thing I wanted to go over here. So this is where we get into the actual weeds of the UI and where the main issue of the UI is, which is, in my opinion, the loadout screen and selecting weapons and tools and things like that. So the first real issue that I have is just having to compare weapons being multiple clicks. On console, this is multiple clicks. You go into your options here, and then you can go into, like, you can compare item, right? So it's all the way down here. So now you can see your comparisons. That should, in my opinion, be a one button click. Like, there are a bunch of buttons on the controller that you're not using in the menu, and you can use one of them for example, if I want to do, let's say, a compare item quickly, you just hit L2 or something. That should just bring up this screen or this layout of the UI, so you can easily compare weapons with one click. That's kind of a short one, but that's kind of where we are. I really feel like most games do this with one click, and this should too, especially in a game like this where weapon selection is kind of critical in this game. Another thing that I noticed is I have all these kinds of filters up here. So if I hit triangle on PS5, I can go through, and select different kinds of filters. There's one for contraband, and favorites, obviously. One thing I've noticed that's sorely missing, unless I can't see it, or I'm just, someone in the comments can correct me, is something that items and weapons in my inventory. I don't see a filter for that. So like here, I have this Nagant in my inventory. It's in my bag, so I can use it without buying it, which is great. But sometimes I just want to see everything that I have in my inventory that I've collected over games, or that I've been gifted or whatever, or bought, so that I can go ahead and manage my inventory that way and sell the things that I don't need. There are definitely guns that I've collected that I don't care for, that I don't want to use, that I just have in my inventory. And there's no easy way to kind of sort through and sell the things that you don't want. I understand contraband, you can't sell those items, but there's also a filter for that. So you'll notice, like, I have contraband stuff. These should all be labeled contraband, unless it's also things that I have in my inventory that isn't contraband, at which point, like, this bow might be one of them. But unless it counts for both, then it's misleading. Then the icon needs to change. Then it should be contraband and inventory. But I feel like there should be an inventory icon up there with your filters. And while we're on the subject of filters, I just want to point out that on PS5, at least, the search filter does not work. So I navigate to my filters and I go to search. The keyboard comes up and I type in something like sniper, and sniper, it's there, so all my snipers are there, but then I can't go and select anything, so I have to go out and it just unfilters. So notice the filter still says sniper, so that's correct, but it doesn't actually filter my selection when I go to actually select things. So I can see a kind of preview of where all the snipers are, but I can't actually go and select something, and that's just a bug. That's not really, we don't really call that a UX issue, that's just a bug. And it's only because I was investigating the UI that I found it, and I'm pretty sure they have it in their backlog somewhere. So it's just a bug. Search filter just doesn't work on PS5. And jumping out of loadouts and just selecting hunters for a second. Just going to loadouts. I can't replicate this issue anymore because I've unlocked all the things in my loadouts. But there was a point where I had favorited something and put into my loadout an item that I hadn't unlocked yet, and when I ran out of that item and I had to buy it, I wasn't high enough level to acquire it, so the game wouldn't allow me to equip the entire loadout because of one item, which is pretty frustrating. And it wouldn't actually. I think it did figure out a way that it told me like which item it was, but then it didn't tell me like what level I had to go and be to get it. So I had to go and figure that out. The quick fix for this is, and a lot of games do this, where it's like a preview and you don't meet the requirements for a specific item for a loadout. So just equip the loadout without that one item, and then just tell the user that one of these items, or this item specifically, was not equipped because you don't meet the requirements yet. What they do currently is they just don't allow you to equip that loadout at all. So you have to then, essentially, the workaround is you have to rebuild that entire loadout without that specific item, and that's very tedious and annoying. So just simple fix, just equip the loadout without the missing items. So while I was playing this game, also they kind of changed the UI a little bit. They updated the UI, so I don't know if this was there before, but one of the things I noticed is when I go to get a new hunter, let's say just get a new hunter, it's like select this guy. When I recruit a new hunter, I should immediately go into the loadout. So what it does is it takes me to this screen, then I have to click into the new hunter, and then go into the loadout. What should happen is as soon as I click hire this hunter, this is the screen that I should be brought into. I should drill into directly into their loadout to edit it, because that's the first thing I'd probably want to do. At least in my 25 hours of experience, that's the first thing I wanted to do. The other thing is like just going to loadouts and just equipping a loadout, but sometimes I want to mess with their, if I like what they have already and I want to mess with their one or two of their items, I can just go ahead and do that. So I think it's pretty redundant to then select the hunter that you already just hired to then manipulate and manage the loadout. So now we're in into the perks or the traits menu here. It's not bad. It's just it's pretty interesting with the artwork and all the different kinds of traits that you can apply and see which ones stack, and it's really fun to do combinations. But one of the things I noticed is when I the traits that I have equipped, I don't know what their value is. So if I want to unequip something, I don't know how much I'm getting back. So if I unequip something here, that's 2 clicks, and it'll tell me that you'll get back 3. It was 4, now I'm getting back 3 because it doesn't want me to mix and match or whatever. But it'd be nice to know that before I click into it, right? So like there should be maybe a little number on the corner of each one here to let me know what the cost of each trade is, so that I know what I'm getting back if I want to unequip it. Just something food for thought. Right now, currently, it takes about 2 clicks to figure out how much it costs, and then on top of that, this is a pretty destructive action. So this is basically a warning modal that's telling me like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and I have a way to don't remind me again. At which point, that destructive action, this will never come back. So I don't know how much I'm getting back, and if I remove this, I don't think I'll ever know. I just have to play the game and memorize the number, which is not good. So again, quick fix is just to have the number in the corner or somewhere in close proximity to the equipped traits, so I know like what I'm getting back. So now we're going into gameplay a little bit again here. Just note that on PS5 at least, the controls for Beetles are not on the screen. There's one for exit and explode, but I didn't know how to ascend or descend the Beetle. And for those of you who don't know, on PS5 it's R1 and L1. So I had to figure that out here in this really tense situation. It's not on the screen, and it should be. All the controls for the Beetle should be there, and they weren't. And I was very lucky to figure that out on the fly there. One last thing that I want to touch on before I jump on to the biggest issue is just a quick I think change needed for headshot notifications. So most games do a sound effect, like Hunt Showdown does a sound effect for when you get a headshot, but I really feel like a visual indication should go along with it. So like something like The Last of Us here, they have different hit markers for headshots versus body shots. So like that was a headshot, and those are body shots. That lets you know immediately that without question that you got a headshot. And in Hunt Showdown, that's kind of vital information for how scarce or how deadly weapons can be. So I really think that Hunt could benefit from something like this. Just a visual hit marker along with the audio hit marker as well. Which the audio hit marker is a little hard to tell unless you're listening close. So, yeah. And certainly, last but not least, the biggest issue that I have with Hunt Showdown's UI is the weapon selection and how messy it can be, especially when there are multiple variants of the same weapon, and that can just increase the visual noise and the visual search as well. For instance, I have 3 variants of the marathon here. Some of which I've unlocked, and some of them I have not. So obviously, it's clear to see which ones I haven't unlocked. But the issue that I have is I need to. What if I want to know, like, how quick, or how close I am to getting a specific variant, right? So, I should be able to know exactly what that is and how far along I am to get there. Currently, what you do is you have to highlight a variant of a weapon and then go to weapon progression, wherever that progression here. So here you'll see, like, it's very clear. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I need to go, and it tells me how much I need to get a specific variant for this weapon, and where I am in kind of the progression line for this weapon. So that's pretty neat. But it took a lot of clicks to get here, and that is, I think, vital information. So just like comparing should be a one-click button, I think progression should also be a one-click button. Again, I'm not using the trigger button, so maybe L2 is comparison and R2 is progression, whatever have you. But I think to reduce the amount of visual noise and the amount of redundant weapons I see on screen here, I have a solution that I think solves all of these problems. So I'm just gonna jump into that right now. So just know that the problem to solve here is there's too many of the same weapons and too many instances of the same weapons. So, like, even I have 2 versions of the Maynard sniper here. One is contraband and one is not. So, like, things like that. That's just another thing to scroll through, or to select, or to go through and look at and maybe distract to what I'm trying to actually look for. So, and that's called visual noise. Something that I'm not looking for, that is in my visual field, that I'm trying to ignore. So I want to reduce the amount of visual noise and reduce the amount of weapons I see on screen, and I have a solution for that. And it mainly has to do with weapon progression. So weapon progression, I think, should be handled by showing the base weapon, and then you should be able to see exactly where you are in that progression without having to click anything. So I'll go into that right now. So here's my version. It's very similar to the one in the game currently. The main difference being these little drop downs for each weapon. So what I've done is I've organized it so that you just see the base weapons for each weapon, and then the drop down will show you all of the weapon variants that you have or have not unlocked. And what that does is that reduces the visual noise by consolidating all of the weapons into their respective categories and their respective variants. So what you can do is, like, you can click on the this revolver here, and you can see all of the different variants you have and whether or not you've unlocked them. So I have all of the Nagant revolvers here unlocked, so I can go ahead and select whichever one I'd like. And just go about my business, and that will reduce the amount of things that I have to scroll through and search and filter. I won't have to utilize filters and search as much if I can spot what I'm looking for immediately, and that's the benefit of reducing your visual noise here. I have a couple different variations of this UI, of this control. So if I have if it's hollow, it means I have not unlocked it. Obviously, if it's filled in, I've unlocked it. So all the base versions of each gun is unlocked. And then if you have something like the bow, which doesn't have any variations, the control doesn't exist for that weapon, obviously. So it's just as is in the game today. And then I have here the Deadeye version of the Nagant to show if I've starred something or favorited something that's not the base version, what would that look like? And I feel like that should still show up as the version that you have actually starred. And it should represent that in the actual control as well. So I've unlocked all of the variants of the Nagant, and this is the last one. So the last node is highlighted. So what this does is it shows you at a quick glance all of the information that you need to know, okay, how many variants does a weapon have? Have I unlocked all of the variants? Which variant is this? And, you know, like, how far am I to getting the next one? Or, at a very quick glance, you get all of that information, right? So, currently, like I demonstrated earlier, like, you have to go through a bunch of clicks just to see the weapon progression for one weapon. Now, this shows all of it for all of the weapons that you have on screen. So, and that might be the reason that they didn't go this route, is that performance-wise, it would be a huge hit. So something like this in UI, it's just adding this control in, like, you know, it's just like this drop down or whatever for sparks or whatever. And that's great, but UI-wise, that's an easy fix. But in terms of performance and engineering, to engineer all of that would be a little bit of work, because you're now asking the system to show the entire weapons progression for the entire for all of your weapons, and that would be a huge performance hit. But the benefit is that the user doesn't have to go through so many clicks and doesn't have so much visual noise to get to the information that they want. So there are drawbacks with this control as well. So one of the drawbacks is if I select, you know, the drop down for the sparks pistol, or let's just do the revolver here, since I have them all unlocked. The drawback is, well, like I said earlier, there's variants for each weapon, and there's also instances of the same weapon. So what this isn't showing is, like, if there's a contraband version versus something that's in my inventory versus something that I want to buy. So the way around that would be an extra click. So if I clicked the Deadeye here, and I had a contraband version, they would just be an extra click. It would be a modal that says, which one do you want? You know, contraband inventory, or do we want to buy a new one? And that would be, you know, just an extra click or two. Obviously, if you don't have any version of it, obviously that modal wouldn't exist. But that's how you would go through dealing with multiple versions of the same weapon in this UI, and that's a bit of a drawback. But I think that's worth it to consolidate all of the different variations of each weapon. So I think it's pretty neat. Devs, if you're watching this, please try to incorporate something like this into the game. That would greatly reduce the UI clutter and visual noise that the users have currently. So yeah, that's kind of my take and experience from a UX perspective on Showdown 1896. They did a kind of a UI revamp in the middle of me starting to play this game, which is kind of neat. But I really like this game. Just playing the game actually is a lot of fun. It's very unique. It's very, very. It's super tense, and I love games like that. And I want it to be better. and so does the community. So devs, if you're looking or listening, please try to incorporate some of this feedback. It's all constructive. I love the game. I'm not trying to hate. It's great, but it could be better. This is from a veteran UX designer, so I see things like this all the time. I deal with this in my 9 to 5, and I try to fix things like this. So try to fix especially the menu clutter for weapon selection, and guys, if there's anything that I've missed, because I've only had 25 hours in this game and I've only played solo, so if there's anything that you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments, and like always, we'll have a good discussion in the comments if you're there. So see you next time, guys. Thanks.